Tornadic activity. We have received reports from the Weather Service and from ground spotters that it's conceivable that a second funnel is beginning to form again in almost the same area as the first touchdown in the vicinity of Brooklyn Park, up around 65th and Zane. The prevailing winds are basically moving from west to east, and even though the warnings have expired temporarily, there still is a threat of severe storms, damaging winds, and even tornadoes, especially in northeastern Hennepin County, portions of central and western Ramsey County, and southern Anoka County. This is the cell that did produce a confirmed tornado. It was on the ground from about 4:50 until about 5:25 or so. It then proceeded to dissipate, but it now appears it is at least conceivable that a second funnel is beginning to form in extreme northeastern Hennepin County. Sky 11 is up in the air, and we'll be keeping you posted right through the evening hours. This is what it looked like at about 4:55 when it was first beginning to reach the ground. This was the funnel up in Brooklyn Park, and then it did proceed to touch the ground, and numerous reports of damage. We are still receiving reports of injuries.
I think they opened our mics here just now. Right now,
we have a report
are being reported in White Bear Lake and Stillwater.
White Bear Lake and Stillwater. It is a dangerous situation, and people again living in northern Ramsey County and southern Anoka County. There is White Bear Lake right about there. Stillwater is right here. This is the cell that is capable of producing tornadoes. It has been sagging to the southeast over the past hour or so. It developed explosively because of all that heat. The dew points we've been babbling about have been up in the mid-upper 70s. It's incredibly unstable. And when this thing went, it went in a matter of just a couple of minutes.
Now, during the 5 o'clock newscast, we did not have any reports of injuries. We had a number of people in the newsroom checking, calling hospitals, calling emergency personnel, but now we do have a report that one man was struck by lightning on Manitou Island in White Bear Lake, and the White Bear Fire Department Rescue Squad is on the scene right now, although we do not know the man's condition. So at least at this point, we now do have one confirmed injury, and that was caused by lightning, not by the tornado itself.
Now we have the latest from Susan Weesey, who's in the newsroom, while the condition of some of the hospitals. Susan?
We've been checking with ambulance crews from Mercy Medical Center, from Unity, from North Memorial, and from St. Paul Ramsey Hospital. All of them are out in the area, and so far they have no report of injuries outside of the one case that you mentioned in White Bear Lake where a man was struck by lightning. We've also heard from police departments in that area, specifically the Brooklyn Park Police Department. They say right now that they have no injuries, not any that they know of, although they do report extensive damage to houses. Of course, we always know when there's damage to houses, there's the potential for injury. We've got crews in the area, and we'll be checking on that. Again, in Brooklyn Park, it seems to be that's where the damage is worst. The boundaries in that area appear to be north of Zane Avenue, east of Newton, east on to the Mississippi River. Apparently, one of the areas that is hardest hit is 85th Avenue and Zane in Brooklyn Park. Again, we're continuing to gather information here in the newsroom, and we'll bring it to you just as soon as we can.
All right, Susan, thank you very much. Paul Douglas, you're on the phone right now. Is that with the National Weather Service?
I'm on the phone with the National Weather Service right now. This is our hotline that we talk to with the Weather Service. And can you tell me, do you have any kind of an update as far as what is on the ground right now? Is there a second funnel beginning to reform? Funnel reports where? In the Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park area. Okay, this is going on now. 10 minutes ago, a report. Okay, there still is. Okay, all right. Paul, let me update you. We apologize for not having audio from the Weather Service, but basically, essentially what he just said is there still is some rotation in northeastern Ramsey County in the vicinity of White Bear Lake, about to move into Washington County, and there were reports 5 to 10 minutes ago from some of the spotters, some of the Skywarn spotters, that it appeared that a secondary funnel was trying to get going in Brooklyn Park, which is right about here. So there seem to be two areas to watch, one in extreme northeastern Ramsey County and a second area right now in northeastern sections of Hennepin County, almost exactly where the first tornado touched down. It's a dangerous situation. We're flying by the seat of our pants, folks. I wish we had this all neatly arranged for you, but this is breaking as we speak. Paul?
We do want to point out that Max Mesmer, if you were with us from 5 to 5:30, is still up in the air with photographer Tom Empey. They're in Sky 11. We also have Dennis Stauffer on the ground. He will have a live shot for us, a live report from the damage area. And right now, we also have Regina McCombs.
She was one of our editors at News 11, and she has an eyewitness account of what happened. Regina, can you hear us?
Yes.
What can you tell us? What did you see?
Well, I suppose it was about 5 o'clock. We were out in the backyard just kind of playing around, and it started to get real dark, and I noticed it was a funnel cloud, but I just kind of thought I was hallucinating. And then all of a sudden it got real big and real dark over right about at 85th and Zane. And then started to kind of move directly north of where I live, which is, you know, I was not half a mile from it, I'm sure.
Regina, what is your street address there?
It's at 79th and Halifax.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of damage do you see in that area?
Well, I didn't see any damage, although we could see some things flying around in the air. But right where I was, I didn't go over to the damage site.
And you say it moved along to the north of you, Regina?
Right. And it went up for a while, and then it came down over right by the river. And it just really sat there. It was amazing. We kind of followed along after it, and it just stayed in one spot, just kind of rotating around for a long time there.
And again, Regina, you had no warning. You were out in your backyard, and things just turned nasty. How long did it take before things got dark, and then you saw the actual funnel cloud?
Oh, it started to get real dark in about 5 minutes, and that's about the time the civil defense sirens went on.
They did go
You
off.
did hear sirens.
Yeah.
Did people around you seem to take that? Did they go indoors? Did they go into their basements? Is that what happened at your particular place?
In the neighborhood, I did not see anyone out, but we drove around kind of following the storm, and there were a lot of people out watching, and we stopped at one empty lot, and there must have been 30 people out there watching, too.
And that's when the funnel or the tornado was in its stationary position?
Right.
It was a real spectator event then.
Yeah, it was.
Paul?
Yeah, Paul.
Excuse me, I hate to interrupt you. We have other reports that there could indeed be another touchdown or another funnel reforming in the vicinity of White Bear Lake in northeastern Ramsey County, that area of rotation that the Weather Service was concerned about. And we've received another report of a touchdown in the Stillwater area, which would almost appear to be south of where the ominous-looking cell is. But again, we cannot stress enough that this is an ongoing developing situation. We are not out of the woods right now. I know the sirens are going in our backyard. And certainly everybody in the metro area should be very, very cautious. Unless you live in western Hennepin County or western Anoka County, there you're out of the woods. Everybody else, there is a threat of tornadoes for at least the next 30 to 60 minutes. And this is the time of day that tornadoes are most likely. And with this kind of heat and humidity, anything could happen here over the next 20 to 30 minutes.
Is this storm moving slowly?
It is moving very slowly. The upper level winds, the steering winds aloft, are very light. And so in a way that's good, because what it's enabling us to do is give more warning. If a tornado is moving along at 50 or 60 miles an hour, the people in the path of that twister obviously have very little warning. Here people can watch their TVs, listen to the radios, and can take the necessary precautions. To reiterate, the safest place to be in the basement, under the stairs, under a heavy piece of furniture. If you don't have a basement, ground floor, a small room. The smaller the room, the better, and the more walls you can get between you and the tornado, the better. A bathtub works wonderfully, so does a closet. The most vulnerable areas are gymnasiums, anything with a big roof, and also mobile home parks. For goodness sakes, if you're in a mobile home park, especially in Washington, Ramsey, or eastern Hennepin County, you should be going to a pre-designated shelter area right now. Paul, Diana?
Paul, we have another piece of business to take care of, but before we get to that, one more question. I know you're getting more information right now. As this storm moves across into Wisconsin, does it continue to build energy or does it lose energy? What's going to happen?
It would continue to build energy for at least the next 30 to 60 minutes. The period of maximum heating is right about now. From this point on, thunderstorms and any associated tornadoes should begin to weaken as the sun sinks into the lower end of the western sky. There is a tornado warning in effect right now for northeastern Hennepin, southern Anoka, all of Ramsey, and northern Washington. I'll read it off as the Weather Service just ripped it off. Radar indicated at 5:45 a possible tornado in Brooklyn Park, and actually in the Brooklyn Center area, Brooklyn Park area of the Twin Cities metro area. Numerous reports of funnel clouds have also been received from this area and the area of White Bear Lake, which is right about here. So there appear to be possibly 3 different threat areas, folks. Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center, another threat in northeastern Ramsey County up around White Bear Lake, and again, we've been receiving reports of possible funnel formation, even a possible touchdown near Stillwater. So this is the storm. It is moving to the east-southeast, a very big threat right now for Fridley, North Minneapolis, and much of Ramsey County for at least the next 15 to 30 minutes. We can't stress enough, this is not fiction, this is not hype, this is happening right now. I think before it's all said and done, there will be numerous injuries and damage, possibly running into the millions of dollars. Just based on what we saw between 5 and 5:30, that tornado did produce winds probably in excess of 200, 250 miles an hour. Obviously, I don't care how well constructed your house is, if a 250-mile-an-hour gust of wind comes along, you're going to be in trouble. It's impossible to say exactly who is going to see that tornado, but we're going to have to watch it very, very carefully. We have another warning coming out right now. Paul and Diana will keep you posted over the next couple of minutes.
Okay, and I guess one more question before you leave is if it gets over White Bear Lake, that's a big body of water. My question is what happens when you have that kind of storm over a lake like that?
Quite simply nothing. It would turn into a water spout. You would suck up a certain amount of water. But tornadoes are so incredibly powerful that the most incredible, powerful energy source really on Earth, certainly the most awesome display of weather, and there's simply nothing, man-made or otherwise, that is going to disrupt the formation of a tornado, except for perhaps mountains. If we were in a mountainous area, then perhaps that would tend to disrupt the inflow and the circulation of a tornado. But since we're basically flat, there is really nothing shy of nightfall that is going to cause this tornado to dissipate.
So not only should people take cover in their basements, but also if you were a boater out on White Bear Lake,
oh, absolutely,
get off the lake.
And again, towns that appear to be under the gun right now, other than White Bear Lake, would also be places like Mounds View, Fridley, Coon Rapids, Spring Lake Park. Those towns, it would appear, the greatest threat right now. One more look at live Doppler 11, and you can see this is the area producing possible tornadic development. We're trying to give you news as fresh as possible. We want to toss back right now to, I believe, Susan Weesey in the newsroom for an update on possible injuries.
Let's do this. Come on over here right now if we can. Again, folks, this is live TV, so if it's not the slickest looking thing, you can understand that we're live on the air and sort of flying by the seat of our pants. Kirstin Lindquist is going to join us right now. You've been in the newsroom making phone calls concerning injuries. I know that the report of the man who was hit by lightning on Manitou Island in White Bear Lake came from you.
I have a little bit more information on that right now. There were two men reportedly on a sailboat in White Bear Lake. Their boat was struck by lightning. Both men are in good condition right now. They're at St. Paul Ramsey Medical Center. We've checked with about a half dozen other hospitals in the area, including one in Fridley Unity Hospital, which tells us that there have been no reports of any injuries, and it really seems incredible, Paul, based on what we saw, those pictures of that deadly storm. 2 injuries so far, and both of those injured are now in good condition in Ramsey, at Ramsey Medical Center.
We've been very, very lucky. There has been some damage. Paul said, you know, that with something like this, you have an expectation of a lot of injuries, but as you just said, we've been very fortunate in that respect. Right now, what we want to do is show you some pictures that were taken earlier. They were live during our 5 o'clock newscast today. We are going to roll that tape for you right now, if we can. They're trying to cue it up back in the boiler room. There it is. That's the funnel cloud in the air at this point. Correct, Paul?
This was as the tornado was descending from the wall cloud at the rear of the storm to the ground.
This was in the Brooklyn Park area.
That's right. This was about 4:50 or so. And this is where the initial touchdown took place. We heard reports about it on a police scanner. There was no warning out at the time. We knew there were storms there, but frankly, we didn't expect this.
And by your estimate, the tornado traveled roughly how far?
I would estimate, and this is simply a guesstimate, perhaps 4 to 6 miles towards the east.
Here we have some audio right now from Max earlier, our pilot.
There are flash fires on all the high-tension wires. We're about 3/4 of a mile from the actual touchdown at this time. This is really spectacular.
From there, the tornado moved on into the Fridley area, right, Paul? And that's where it finally dissipated.
It finally dissipated. As you can see, we were extremely lucky in that the tornado passed over mainly wooded area. As best as I can recall, Paul and Diana,
yeah, I didn't see.
We did not see it passing over any shopping centers or even neighborhoods.
It did hit a trucking, what appeared to be a trucking firm
In Brooklyn Park. There was several semi-trailers turned over at that point.
The trucking firm was missing part of its roof. I'll tell you what, right now I've just had a gentleman sit down here with me. Dave, we haven't met, Dave Breivik. These pictures were just handed to us, and at home I don't think you can see exactly what I've got here. I don't know if we can get a shot of any of these, but Dave, you were apparently out in the area where the tornado touched down, and that's obvious by these pictures.
Taking
I'll show you a couple of these here. Let me just try and move through these. Dave, why don't you describe what we have here?
Well, I was on...
I'm going to hold some of these up. You just look in that TV monitor right over there to your right and tell me where you were, what you saw. We'll bring that a little closer for you.
I was on Noble Avenue, just north of 85th. and I was heading east on 85th, and then I all of a sudden noticed this thing. First it just seemed like a little tunnel, you know, and all of a sudden it started to really pick up, and debris right in this new development area, right by that new golf course there in Brooklyn Park. This is where it was. I noticed the first. Now that one on the right, that was just like a ball.
You're talking about this one?
No, the other one.
This one?
Yeah, that one there. It was just, you can see there was like a ball there. It was really weird. It was just getting big and going.
No buildings in the area? You didn't see any damage?
Not right there. I was about 6, 8 blocks away from this here.
All right, we can come back to a wide shot here in the booth.
I did see a lot of debris from the new housing area.
Were people on the roads with you? Were they obviously paying attention over there? Was there any panic at all?
Well,
people seemed to go about their business?
I got a little excited. I was stopping at homes there along the way and blowing my horn and letting them know that it was going on. And then
were those people aware that it was going on at that point?
No,
they weren't.
The particular people, the first one I stopped in, wasn't aware at all.
Okay. Was it moving towards you or moving away from you at that point?
It looked like it was coming towards me, but it was kind of stable in that one area. It just seemed like it was just working that one area over real well. And
all right.
Then it seemed like it was kind of coming northwest, which I headed up to as far as I could go, and then it started coming towards me, and I just headed back the other direction.
Smart move, Dave. Yeah. I'll tell you what, thank you for coming by. Thank you for sharing your pictures with us. We appreciate it. And good job in warning the people that you warned. Right now, what we're going to do is head into the newsroom. Helen Abrams is there, a person who works here with us, and she apparently was out with a freelance photography crew today, and I think they may have some videotape of what went on. Helen, you're in the newsroom?
Yeah, Paul, I'm in the newsroom. I was out at the Brooklyn Center Target store which is not opened yet, out in the Brooklyn Center area. What we saw is the clouds coming down from the sky. We saw the first one come down, then it went back up, and then we did see the one that did cause the damage in Brooklyn Center, and I believe this is the one right here. This thing just came down the sky, it went back up a couple of times, and then it came down and we could see the damage that was being done from it, just swirling around. And, you know, there was a lot of panic with the employees at the store, and everybody at that point went to take cover, except, of course, the crew.
Helen, what time was this?
This was about 4:45.
Now, had you heard sirens prior to this?
We had heard sirens because there was another funnel cloud before we got this crew set up. And so we heard the sirens go off for the other one, and then that one dissipated. Then this one came through, and this is the one that did the damage.
Uh-huh.
What did people around you do? Did they, you know, try to go home or try to go inside?
No, everybody that was out there decided that they'd better stay put. These are people who were not with us that, you know, are moving around. But they decided that because they could obviously see the danger, that they should move to the back of the Target store and take cover, which is exactly what we all did.
Helen, if you can recall, how far away from the tornado do you think you were at this point?
I would say about a mile, mile and a half from the damage reports I'm hearing and from, you know, what I could see from Sky 11, which I saw from the ground, and, you know, various reports such as that.
And was that the closest distance the tornado passed?
Yeah, it did not come inside of the 694 area that we could see. So as you can see, it's just swirling around, picture, and then I believe this is the point where it just went back up into the sky.
Uh-huh. A lot of relief, I imagine, on your part and everybody else's when that thing finally went back up.
You can say that. My car was parked underneath a lamp, so we decided a lot of people moved cars. A lot of people then just took cover after that.
Mm-hmm. I understand that we now have a map of the 694 area of where the damage is sustained at the moment.
Maybe we can put that up on your screen at home right now. There it is. Paul, Zane and 85th. It actually touched down. Was it 65th? Was that the first report, or was it 85th?
85th was the first report that we got at about 12:13:05. We went on the air with that. The second funnel that seemed to be redeveloping about 15-20 minutes ago was almost in the same area, 65th and Zane, just a little farther south. Mm-hmm. We've had reports of golf ball size hail in Brooklyn Park in the last couple of minutes, and I believe our pilot, Max Mesmer, right now is in the vicinity of White Bear Lake. And we will have
before we leave this map right now, I just want to make a correction. I think that where that says 94, I think, should that read 694? Is that what Tim is telling us? Is that correct, Tim? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah. And that's Brooklyn Park area, and it's obviously moving to the east towards Fridley.
Right. And thank goodness that was
right now
residential.
What we have, I think, that we can show you right now is also a tape that shows the path of the tornado. You'll see the area, the swath that it cut as it moved east. Here you're looking at the tornado itself. As Paul mentioned earlier, and as Kirstin mentioned out here, we've had one reported injury. That was a man in White Bear Lake who was hit by a bolt of lightning. As you can see, the tornado moved through a very wooded area. We were
right.
very, very fortunate. As Helen Abrams just reported to us, she was in the Brooklyn
And Regina McComb, same
Park
thing.
area, right.
Winds there, Paul, probably 200, 250 miles an hour.
This looks like this is adjacent to the river, where the wooded area is. Does that sound about right?
That would, yes, that would be very close to the river, I would think.
In Fridley.
The only thing about this, it's hard to get some perspective on the size of this thing.
Those are trees. Those are whole trees being sucked up into the circulation.
What would you guess? You've seen tornadoes before down in Oklahoma. What would you guess the size of this thing is? How far does it go from the ground?
I'd say that may have been 50 to 100 yards across, maybe the length of a football field, roughly.
And again, the severity of this tornado and your estimation
On a scale,
just from the videotape you've seen.
On a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being catastrophic, 1 being minor, this looked like anywhere between a 2 and a 3, which would have been moderate to perhaps even severe at times. It was extremely fickle. There were times when it appeared to dissipate, Paul, and then it would come back just a few seconds later, wider and meaner looking than ever. And what gave it an eerie whitish glow, it looks like that white tornado that we used to see in commercials a few years ago. That was the setting sun illuminating the underside of the tornado. So normally when you think tornado, you think a big black funnel cloud. This appeared to be white. Just an unbelievable sight.
You can see it's obviously close to some residential areas, but the path is going through trees. It seems very fortunate not to have hit some of that.
More like an industrial center here. But it's just incredible.
The force, the winds are at what point? What force would you think at this point, Paul?
I would say 200, 225 miles an hour. There's no way to get an anemometer in there to see for sure, but they've estimated, they've tracked debris from tornadoes that look a lot like this, and they've come up with estimated wind speeds of about 250 miles an hour. So those are whole trees being sucked up into the circulation.
I'll tell you what we're going to do right now is, Dennis Stopper, as I mentioned earlier, is out with one of our live bands right now, and he apparently has a live report for us right now, if we can go to him. Dennis?
Paul, Diana, we are in Brooklyn Center, just a little ways north and east of the interstate.
Everybody.